raised with it. We, the Christians, have been raised with it. So, do we care about what Europe thinks? Europe right now is Eurabia. It is no longer Europe. Europe that we now used to be Europe has died, or it's on its dying bed. You walk down the streets of the Champs-Élysées in Paris, and what do you see? Women in hijab and in burqa. You see more men dressed in turbans than dressed in a Christian Dior attire and couture. You walk in London, I mean, unbelievable. In Denmark, in the year 2000, before 2001, the mullahs in Denmark were declaring from their mosques that by the year 2050, they will declare Denmark an Islamic state. That was 2000, before the big cartoon brouhaha. We were not paying attention, and we better start paying attention. And people need to pay attention to people who are like me, who came to this country, who escaped Islamic persecution, who are speaking up and saying, wake up America, wake up the West. We're going to be the next Eurabia unless we act now and defend our civilization. We're fighting Islamic totalitarianism. I'm going to let you ask the question. Did you ask the question yet? No.
My name's Kevin Mooney. My name is Kevin Mooney. I'm a reporter with the Cybercast News Service. I have a question about the controversy with the Pope. Is there anything the news media hasn't reported regarding that controversy that you would like to see get a little bit more airtime, a little bit more play?
The news and the Pope. And by the way, the Pope was quoting, a 17th century Byzantine emperor talking about a 7th century religion, Islam, about violence in Islam, and Islam being spread through the sword and through violence. And what do the Muslims do? Burning churches, killing the nun. What the Pope was talking about is what we sit around the dinner table and talk about, is what we watch on the news, and in the evening news is what we hear on the news all day long, not only in America but all throughout the world. And I mentioned earlier Santani and Wig, the perfect example of the two Fox reporters. This forced conversion just happened last month. This is the 21st century. Nothing has changed. Except now they have sophisticated Western technology called guns instead of the swords. Swords. My husband told me you need to say swords instead of swords. Yes.
Hello. My name is Madeline, and I am an American. And my question is, I recently heard a lot of news about a documentary called Obsession.
Yes.
What is your opinion of that?
Well, what can I say? I'm in the documentary, so I love the documentary. Obsession is an incredible documentary. It's a wake-up call about the threat of radical Islam to Western civilization, and I urge everyone to find that documentary and get it, see it, feature it in your community.
Watch for a future program at Heritage. We're working on that.
That's right. And it's a great documentary, and we need the support of people like you, of concerned Americans, who are going to support production of documentaries like these. Speaking engagements for people like me to go out and spread the word. We need to come together and work together to expose the truth. Not many people are willing to do that, sadly. And that's why our work is most important. Yes.
Hi, Faith McDonald from the Institute on Religion and Democracy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One thing, I recently saw Obsession, and something that I felt was left out was the connection with Sudan. And I know you mentioned Sudan in your book. I think we need to connect the dots all around the world.
Exactly.
And I just wondered if you have any contact with Southern Sudanese or Sudanese from the Nuba Mountains. The Muslims in the Nuba Mountains are the kind of Muslims you're talking about. They're the peaceful ones, and they want a secular democracy. But they would be a good contact for you and for all of us who want to work on stopping this.
Yes, we are working with different groups, and that's a great point, and I mentioned it in my book. Sudan, Indonesia, all around the world. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, there are conflicts in 44 countries around the world between Muslims and non-Muslims. Where is the voice of the moderates? We are not hearing it. All you hear about is the terrible acts committed in the name of Islam, but you don't hear the voices of the moderates. And the moderates are being silent, just like in Lebanon with this last war with Hezbollah and Israel. The Sunnis and the Christians are adamant against Hezbollah. They want the same old democratic Lebanon back. Prime Minister Siniora, who is a Sunni, who absolutely hates Sheikh Nasrallah, who's the head of Hezbollah. In the first 2 days of the war, Minister Siniora came out and said how dare Hezbollah start a war without consulting with the Lebanese government. They had no right to kidnap the Israeli soldiers. Within few days, you saw the Prime Minister change his song and dance. The reason why? Because Hezbollah sent death threats to members of the Lebanese parliament that if you say anything against Hezbollah that makes Hezbollah look bad, you will face the same fate like Prime Minister Hariri. You will be killed. And this is why you started seeing more people in the Lebanese government be intimidated and talk about Israel is the enemy, Hezbollah is our hero. And by them appeasing the enemy and talking like this, look what Nasrallah did in Lebanon a few days ago with the rally they held in Lebanon. We want to overthrow the government of Lebanon and we want to make the government. Appeasement doesn't work. It's like feeding the crocodile hoping you will be the last person to be eaten. And you will be the last person to be eaten. You've got to kill that crocodile in order to ensure your survival. And this is what we're seeing all around the world today. And it needs to stop.
One more.
One more question.
Edric Peterson, U.S. Freedom Foundation. I have first a brief comment and then a question for you. The comment is in response to the question previously given and concern for internment camps and a dramatic response to the threat within. Perhaps the primary question that must be answered for all of those who worry about excessive response is, are we or are we not at war? And the answer to that question will elicit the correct response, presuming we have the correct answer. Secondly, I'm concerned with Iran and Ahmadinejad. And I would like your comment and observation on what degree of credibility do you give to him, how much is act and how much is reality, and what would be the threat of a nuclear-armed Iran and the consequences of that to us? Thank you.
Iran is the biggest danger we are facing right now. Ahmadinejad is credible. Listen to every word he is saying. He is going to follow through on every word he is uttering. The minute Iran finishes their nuclear reactor or nuclear bomb, they will use it against Israel and wipe Israel off the map. And that doesn't only start with Israel. Their eyes are going to be next on the United States. The same thing happened to Hitler. When Hitler even wrote a book called Mein Kampf, My Struggle. That's what, Mein Kampf means. And he said exactly how much he hated the Jews and what he wants to do with the Jews. People said, oh, this guy is a lunatic. This guy is a madman. Well, guess what? Listen to what the madman is saying, because he is going to follow through on his threat. While we are wasting time beating around the bush, talking about UN sanctions, sanctions. I mean, these people could care less about sanctions. Face reality. You can have sanctions from now until the sun comes down. It doesn't affect them one bit. Remember, these people are used to living in poverty. They can very easily live on a bowl of rice. They do not need to go furniture shopping or clothes shopping. They can survive. Don't look at their standards and compare it to the standards of the United States. Sanctions are not going to affect them. Not to mention, we're going to have our enemies helping them, smuggling to them whatever we cut off from them. So he will follow through. He is not going to respect anything the UN says, because look what they did with Saddam Hussein. So what's going to change? He's got another 12 years to go. Only in 2 years he'll finish his nuclear bomb. And this is why it is so important to act. And we need to realize that Ahmadinejad is driven by an ideology of bringing back the 12th Imam, the hidden 12th Imam. What makes Ahmadinejad much more dangerous than Hitler is Ahmadinejad believes that the 12th Imam who is hiding, who disappeared in a well, the only way he is going to come back is by creating chaos and catastrophe to bring about the Mahdi, where Islam is going to reign supreme. Even though Christians and Jews believe in the coming of the Messiah. The Jews believe the Messiah is going to come and then we're going to have peace on earth. The Christians believe Jesus is going to return and then we're going to have peace on earth. But as Christians and Jews, there is nothing we can do as people to ensure what time or how we can bring them back. In Islam, especially in the Shiite religion with the 12th Imam, the Mahdi, you can actually participate faith as a believer in bringing about this catastrophe to bring in the Savior, and this is where Iran is heading. And one of the Khomeinis was speaking to high school students 2 months ago, addressing the conflict with Israel. He said, even when we bomb Israel, he didn't say if, he said when we bomb Israel and wipe Israel off the map, it's a win-win victory for us, because not only we would have killed all the Jews according to Allah, but even if they bomb us back, and even if we lose millions, we will die as martyrs and go straight to heaven to sit on the right arm of God. So it's a win-win situation for us no matter what happens. See, this is an ideology of death that we as civilized nation has no point of reference to. We cannot relate, but we need to understand. We don't have to relate or have a point of reference with what he's talking about, but we need to understand as civilized, educated people where he is coming from and where he wants to go, and just be prepared to fight and stop him before he gets there. I thank you. My book is Because They Hate, a survivor of Islamic terror warns America. And I urge everyone to visit my website, AmericanCongressForTruth.org.